Frames are simple automata built in the city. Although not equipped with true general sentience, they are nevertheless useful for cleaning, maintenance, and service tasks. Frames do have the ability to learn though, and many develop quirks of personality and behavior over long periods of time.
Who is the thief? Who is that thief?
But as Destiny has evolved and found many new ways to tell stories, these frames have evolved along with it. Every time you head to Hawthorne for bounties or to the hangar to check up on your ship, there's always a frame just within reach performing their day-to-day duties to keep this place up and running. Now these frames for the most part are programmed for civil matters and jobs like sweeping the floor. But not all frames are the same, for example the one we see on the cover image for the Penumbra DLC this upcoming summer. Let's today discuss the backstory and evolution of frames, what the Season of the Shadow may bring, and much more. Next to the frames we see in the tower, others may vary as they have different protocols and functions. For example, the lore explained for the reframes talks about how they were salvaged from cargo ships and act more like computers compared to the city frames that may develop and mimic personalities. Now next to some of these frames developing sort of personalities, they also have many different duties when it comes to the world of Destiny. Back when the Iron Lords were attempting to halt the Siva outbreak from Site 6 in the Cosmodrome, Rasputin unleashed a wave of defenses trying to slow their advance to the chamber.
When Temur tracked it to the Cosmodrome, we thought our quest was finally over. Siva would be ours for the taking. Rasputin responded. More than 100 Iron Lords entered the Plague Lands. Only 9 reached the replication chamber. Only a few of us reached the replication complex. The worst of Rasputin's defenses had already blanketed this entire area. Frames. Constructs. Some things I haven't seen before or since. They felt no pain. No fear.
So back then, it would seem that Rasputin did have frames at his defense, and it seems that Bungie liked this idea for early concepts as well. We can see pictures of frames on Mars with weapons, and even clips in the tower where they were guarding the city with snipers. Given those examples, frames are mainly programmed nowadays for maintenance and civil matters in the tower, but others do exist for various reasons. The Redjacks are frames who infiltrate certain areas Shaxx wants to use for the Crucible and make sure things are safe for Guardian warfare. These Redjacks can be seen both at the farm and the tower and barely ever return from the battles out in the system. So this is super important because humanity can send out these robots to clear these Crucible zones without harming their own people and their own Guardians. So when thinking about Penumbra and who this frame may be, is it a Redjack? My first instinct is most likely not, but I guess you never know. Things could change, Bungie could have changed the story, and let's discuss further. So like mentioned, frames have a pretty low lifespan as they can get damaged or destroyed clearing out these Crucible zones, but that's the point of them, right? We send in the robots to do the dirty work so we won't have to and we'll be perfectly fine. In the history of these robots though, some have survived way longer than expected, and you may know who I'm talking about if you've heard a certain scannable in Destiny 2.
Someone's been trying to modify one of Shaxx's Redjacks, but all the interface history shows is accessed by other frames. Arcite and Dahlia, it says. Over and over, Arcite and Dahlia.
Their names are Arcite and Dahlia. Arcite was once a Redjack like so many others, but he became the Crucible Quartermaster and had all of his programming changed for more civil matters. Arcite was just gonna chill here in the tower from now on. He wasn't going to fight, therefore he didn't need to be programmed to do so. And while he is simply just a frame now and deals with civil matters, he does remember the past and he still does have that memory of those wars. The second is Dahlia 9940. Now Dahlia is in the same boat as Arcite. She's one of the oldest Redjacks and is still alive after having run over 40 missions out in the field. Here's a quote about these two frames in general from the Drifter. Drifter could see Redjacks from his vantage point on the train car roof. Two of Lord Shax's idiot frames were guarding the door to the car. The Drifter holstered his hand cannon and drew a long blade instead. He vaulted down to the deck below and took the frames' heads with an arcing sweep, sheathing his sword and catching the bodies before they fell. Complete silence. 2 Redjacks meant more Redjacks. He didn't want to start a firefight. As he entered the car, he ducked low. He couldn't help but chuckle. They try so hard, the Redjacks, and yet the average Jack didn't last more than 3 missions. Gambit was popular with Crucible Guardians, and they spoke frequently about the legend of Arcite and Dahlia, veteran Redjacks dating back to the early Last City. Drifter would believe it when he met them. He kept moving. So the weird thing with all of this is that these 2 frames are different compared to the others. They are nearly the first 2 frames ever created and they are still alive. As it's stated there, the Redjacks don't last long, barely like 3 missions, and still having these 2 around is quite interesting. Shax is pulling Arcite from the field. Not Dahlia, she's a natural for modifying Foundry gear. Her combat numbers are through the roof. You can fistfight Shax over it if you want. Dahlia is the last Jack standing then. Maybe it's for the best. New frames have trouble data linking with her and Arcite. The 2 of them have been around since the beginning and the heuristic systems keep rewriting everything. They watch her, she helps just by being out there. What the hell happened to that one? Dahlia? We call her the Antiquity. You can pull more fallen blades and bullets out of her chassis than Shax's armor, but she keeps coming back. I mean, she's logged what, 40 plus missions? Those are Arcite numbers. Better. Maybe we should give her alpha permissions, let her call formations. Give it another week. If she comes back, we'll give it a shot. So some of those lines establish how Arcite and Dahlia are completely different compared to the other Redjacks, and their systems keep rewriting everything. Now in a bunch of the Destiny 1 Grimoire cards for various Crucible maps, we can see that Dahlia is also known as Unit 7, and she's been downloading data from other frames and uploading her own. Why? I have no idea. So obviously theorizing, but many people suggest that Dahlia has been tampering with frames and messing with them to some extent. What she's trying to do is unclear. Is she trying to upload some of her battlefield tactics to these frames so they can become more powerful for war? Is she attempting to evolve frames to something besides just servants? It's quite weird because frames are not human like exos. They are complete robots, they have robot minds, but it seems a little sketchy with what Dahlia has been up to, and who knows if we'll see this in Penumbra.
Just like we saw with the Whisper of the Worm quest that came out recently, like those kind of secrets that players discover themselves are super exciting. What if we took an entire release, let leak the name Penumbra, but what if everything else was the mystery box that players will uncover collaboratively?
So speaking of Penumbra, it's coming out next summer and it's been leaked as the Season of the Shadow. Now we will be heading back to the Leviathan to unearth new secrets, and the cover image for this specific release is a frame wielding a sword surrounding what looks like the Leviathan backdrop. At a quick glance you may say, hey, that's Benedict, right? He is a frame that was hacked by Callus, and he's the vendor that communicates with us through him now, and that's most likely who it is. Now first let me just mention that it's kinda weird that Callus had the ability to hack these frames. With that being said, it makes you wonder how he did it. How did he get a frame? How did he figure out how to hack the programming so he can talk to us and get it all the way to the last safe city? But Benedict and this specific frame do look a little bit different. Of course, Bungie could have just given him a facelift, or I guess a robot lift, and made him look different for the expansion, look more cooler, but this could be something completely different. Is this one of the Redjacks? Is this Dahlia herself? Or perhaps this is even a frame that has risen to power because of Arcite and Dahlia's tampering with uploading and downloading to other frames. But Guardians, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Just a little backstory on some of the Redjacks, the frames, and what their purpose is in the world of Destiny. If you'd like to see another video just like this one talking more about Penumbra and more about Callus's shadows, definitely be sure to let me know down below. But if you'd like to be a voice actor for my third-person zombie campaign shooter game, there is a link to some of the parts down below, a script you can read, and then send your audio clip to evadeofficial@yahoo.com. But please be sure to like this video if you enjoyed and subscribe for some more awesome Destiny 2 news and entertainment. My name's Evade and I'll catch you Guardians in the next one.